Namaste. Welcome to the Shaman and the Mermaid, and we're here to present the astrological weather for January 10th all the way through the 24th. January 10th, which is on Friday, is a full moon, and it's also a lunar eclipse. You won't be able to see it here in Denver because the eclipse happens when the sun is at the high noon position. It's the second of two eclipses, and I'm actually going to reference the first eclipse through our astrologer friend Kaipacha. The eclipse on Christmas Day was at 4 or 5 degrees Capricorn, and there's something in astrology called the Sabian symbols. For each of the degrees through all of the different signs, there's 360, like a circle. Each degree has a specific imagery and a specific message associated with it. And that degree that the eclipse on Christmas Day had to do with, the imagery was a Native American chief paddling his canoe up the river to start a war with a neighboring tribe. This was before everything happened most recently, and the further explanation of that Sabian symbol is that the war has been started to prevent the people from individuating into their own spiritual paths. The war was created to divert people into a consensus, uniform way of thinking.
Sounds familiar, at least it does to me, as we have our own situation here with Iran looming, and the promotion of war is strong from our government, and it's much like the chief going up the river trying to keep us diverted from our more soulful purposes in life and getting us more aligned with their purposes in life. And so that's something to keep in the back of your mind on this full moon. As Michael said, that was the symbol for the solar eclipse that opened the eclipse season portal. This full moon is going to close that portal. So if you believe in the power of collective thinking, or the power of prayer, or just the power of intention in general, you could use strong intention to negate that concept of going to war that's being introduced to us at this very intense time of our existence, and hold strongly in your heart and in your mind that that is not the path that we are going to take, and that we are not going to conform to that consensus thinking, and that we are going to journey towards a higher purpose for our existence, and war is not the way.
Interestingly enough, on that same day as the full moon in Cancer, the lunar eclipse, the outer planet Uranus is going direct after 4 months of being retrograde. This is going to flavor that eclipse. It's going to flavor the full moon in Cancer. It's also going to flavor the biggest thing we're going to talk about, which is the Saturn Pluto Conjunction. But Uranus is the wild card. It's the things that are not predictable happening. And Uranus is currently in the sign of Taurus, which has to do with money and Mother Earth and the atmosphere and the environment and our food and all the things around our daily life. And so Uranus going direct is saying there's going to be some changes and shifts.
Big revolutionary changes. Uranus is the revolutionary planet, the one who wants to revolt or evolve or invent, transpire, create. So that electric energy, it governs the nervous system, and it's the electricity of our thinking, it's our thoughts, it's helping us to be inventive. You can think of Einstein as very Uranian. So we can use this direct focus, as Michael is saying, to really help us make some changes at this time that is so intense for the good. And that leads us to what is really the big energy of this time, and it's this conjunction of Pluto and Saturn coming together. We've been talking about it forever. If you watch other astrologers or pay attention to astrology, this has been the big talk for the last year and a half, pretty much, watching this come closer and closer together. And on January 12th, they become exactly conjunct, and they're going to have a powerful force that flavors the whole rest of the year, all the way up through the end of the year. And some of the things that are associated with these two planets, some of the energies are, if you will, personalities of the planets. Saturn represents law and order, justice. It's the spine in the body. It's how we sit up tall and stand in our power. It's karmas on the philosophical level. It's the judge and the jury of our existence that makes our laws. It's the principal, the disciplinarian, hence the karma. So, it's the one that's cracking the whip on us energetically, or if you were to personify that particular planet. And you want to speak to Pluto?
Pluto's energy for both individuals and collectives is the soul energy. Pluto is also related to the energy of Hades, which is the Greek word for the same thing. It's the underworld. It's that part of us that contains all of our potential, all of our unconsciousness, all of our shadow, all of the parts of ourselves that need to come to light. And Pluto is the force of evolution, transformation, rebirth, and death.
It's all of it. It's our whole entire existence in a word. As the collective, there's a human soul of all of us, like our whole humanity's existence, and then our individual souls as well. So these two, the law and order and our soul are coming together. And as individuals, think about what that means to you. Another way that you could describe Saturn and Pluto, Saturn, as I mentioned, is karmas. And karma isn't all bad. Karma can be good. Karma, it means actions or choices is another way to think of it. The choices we've made or the actions we've taken in our lifetime or times, past lives included, are all in this balance, checks and balance category, or a backpack of karma. Some are good, some are bad, depending on what we've done. So you can think of Saturn as all your karma. And then Pluto is your dharma, or your soul's purpose. It's the purpose of why you incarnated in the first place. So your karma and your dharma are coming together. Now, that can be a very powerful combination to help you move forward with your gift, your purpose, in a very powerful way. You could have a backpack of karma full of good energy to help you move forward. You might also have some karmas that are going to hinder you or become obstacles in the pathway of following your soul's purpose. But ultimately, when those karmas present themselves in whatever way that they show up, losing a job, losing a loved one, being jaded, brokenhearted with some kind of a relationship, in the moment, it's devastating. In the moment, it's the biggest obstacle in your life. In the moment, the wound is ripped open and you are in pain. But in the 30,000 view perspective of things, it's helping you to grow, it's helping you to heal, ultimately, the soul on a bigger picture level. So it's troublesome in the moment, but you're clearing that so it's no longer in the backpack, and it's making you brighter, wiser, bigger, more powerful. If you can overcome that suffering that you encounter, then you become stronger for it, as the old adage is. And that leads us to our theme. With these two big planets of karma and dharma, or Saturn and Pluto, or law and order and purpose coming together, we've come up with the theme that we either need to serve the soul or suffer great sorrow. And this is maybe seeming a little doomsday, but it's a truth. We're facing a lot of intensity because we are at a point in our existence where we haven't been looking at how to evolve ourselves spiritually or soulfully, individually or collectively.
Pluto and Saturn coming together is a rhythm that helps guide the evolution of our societies on this planet. The rhythm happens 3 times a century, so about every 33 years, give or take. In the previous 20th century, the rhythm was 1914 they came together. They came together in 1947, and they came together in 1982. And now they're coming together again for the first time in the 21st century, on this date in 2020. There's also important midpoints. The halfway cycle between all of those are important times. I only mentioned one, which was 2001. That was the halfway point between 82 and now 2020. And every time that these two forces come together, Saturn, the force of karma and law and the way that the structure of society is put together, and Pluto, which is the deep soul force and the way of evolution and also destruction. It's Shiva energy. Pluto's purpose is to destroy that which is not meant to go forward. And so when they come together, one is building structure and one is tearing things down. One is about resurrection and rebirth, and one is about maintaining the current structure. And so if these two energies are in conflict with each other, it can create tremendous waves throughout all of our culture, society, planet, and souls. When it's aligned, it can create tremendous moments of possibility, and usually it's a combination of both. We're hoping at this time, where we're at the precipice of fires happening all over in Australia, our United States government threatening war with Iran, all sorts of environmental devastation around our planet, and not to mention things from the borders with immigrants and all the things going on with money, that we start to make wise choices.
And it needs to come from a soulful connection to those choices. Not pragmatic, linear thinking that we have been accustomed to doing. Not doing what we've been told to do because we've been told to do it. Doing things from an intuitive, heartfelt reason why we're doing it. Listening to the soul of your being. Listening to the spiritual side of your embodiment for guidance, for direction, for focus, for clarity. That deeper knowing that you have, that all people have on some level, it's a part of you. Varying degrees of how awakened it is. People are waking up though. You can feel the little hatchlings coming out all over the place. And then people who have been awake are waking up even more so, becoming more empathic, more clairvoyant, more clairaudio, more sensitive to energies. So as we're waking up, little by little, we need to start then listening to that soulful connection to things. We've been for too long listening to that logical thinking, and not that logic doesn't have a place. It's very logical to build a house with a positive, strong foundation underneath it, and you need logical math and logical structuring to build that house. That's not necessarily what we need for the evolution of our souls, though. We need to step outside of pragmatic, logical, linear thinking and let ourselves expand a little bit bigger into other dimensions of our being, which is more creative, more loving, more compassionate, more harmonious with all the ways of the earth. We need to coexist with our earth. We need to coexist with each other. And if we don't, we are going to endure terrible suffering, both the planet and as a people.
A simple barometer to help you decide whether it's your soul or your ego talking to you is it love or fear?
Absolutely.
Not necessarily easy to follow, but it's an easy way to check in with yourself. Is my thought being directed by love or fear? And we are being asked to come back to making loving choices on this planet. not just fearful ones.
That's such a powerful and simple way to do it, but so hard. And it made me think of that quote by Jimi Hendrix: when the power of love overcomes the love of power, we will know peace. But we have been a servant to fear for much too long. And you can feel it in the ether right now. You can feel the frenetic energy, the anxiousness, the anxiety and worry that is so prevalent, because we see the doom and the gloom that's lying in the ether, just hovering in the outskirts of our being. We can push that energy back by loving each other more and loving the earth more. And that for some people sounds so trite or so cliche or a little idealistic. But really, it's quite simple. To be a more loving person just means you have to let go of your fear.
Dang, snap, boom, mic drop, out. There's other things going on this cycle, but really this is the flavor that's setting the tone for the next full year, and even next 38 years, 35 years, until 2050 some, because that's the next time Pluto and Saturn come together, which is why we're focusing mostly on that. Did you want to say something?
Well, yeah, I think on...
No mic drop.
Fear is not, I said it's as simple as letting go of fear. It's simple because it's a choice. It's like flipping a light switch. Yes or no, on or off, love or fear. And it's a choice. But it's not always easy to stick with that choice once you, like, oh, I choose love. And then you get on the TV or you get on your Facebook feed and there's all this stuff coming at you saying, we're going to war, and this and that. And so then fear comes right back in. But you just go right back into the moment. I choose love. I choose to trust. I choose compassion. And when I was saying it seems trite and cliche and idealistic, because it's not reasonable, back to that pragmatic thinking, for us to be able to all share the same ideals, to all believe the same thing, to all act the same way. That's what they've been trying. All systems of government have been trying to get people to follow their way of doing something, to get us all in uniform, to get us all on the same page, following the same rules.
War helps do that.
And war breeds fear to make us obey. Like, I don't want to be blown up, so whatever you say. We don't have to agree with every single person's ideas that come our way. But we don't have to hate them because we don't agree with them. We can agree to disagree. We can be tolerant of their ways, even though they're not exactly how we would do it our way. And we leave room for them to express themselves, and we leave room for us to express ourselves. And when these two expressions start to affect each other, then we have to have conversations, conscious conversations around how to resolve these differences. Some gives and some takes. But it doesn't mean that we have to go in and expend lives for it. Innocent lives on top of that. We don't have to bomb people of any way. There's other ways to resolve our differences. Anger and hatred and harming is not the only way to come to reconcile between two opposing opinions. We can separate ourselves out. You go to this corner, you go to this corner, stay on your ends of the world. Really, this isn't about having tolerance between our differences. This is about money and power and status and control, and those are things that we can reconcile. Those are things that we don't need to fight for. Money is not something to fight for, not a human life. A human life is not worth all the money in the world. But we have put a value, oh no, the dollar is higher than this human life over here. The border is an example of that. We have made our land and our country's way of existing with our laws and our rules so that no one else can come in without our permission. The land itself, if Mother Earth could speak, would she put those people in cages to collect disease and suffer and feel separation and abandonment and torture them? If she could personify herself and speak to us, is that what she would do? Would she say, yes, there's a clear line and the Mexicans need to be on this side and the Americans need to be on this side? She knows no borders of her land, of her waters, of her air, of her people, of her animals, of her plants. She doesn't separate out the agave cactus from the Joshua tree. They all can grow everywhere, and the people can all go everywhere, and the birds can all go everywhere, and the fish can all swim everywhere. This is one earth and one human family, and everybody should be able to coexist. Now, if the guppy is scared of the shark, it's going to stay away from the shark in the ocean waters, but they can coexist together. If you look at the way the animal kingdom is, they are all rolling around together. The little field mouse and the hawk are coexisting together. Every now and then, for the sake of survival, the hawk is taking the mouse. The mouse is taking the grain or the seeds. It's all part of a divine plan of keeping everything in harmony and flow. But there isn't an overabundance of hawks taking more than they need and stockpiling them in their nest for the days to come and building a wall around their nest with mice, with dead mice. It's not happening that way. It's not the law of nature. And Pluto and Saturn are in the sign of Capricorn, which is about, Capricorn's an earth sign, and Saturn is the laws. And this is very much about the laws of our earth. And the one sign that is about natural law is Sagittarius. And just recently, Mars, the warrior, moved into Sagittarius. I would like to see our warrior energy, our fighting instincts, to be fighting for Mother Earth, fighting to protect her, fighting to bring her back to a flourishing existence instead of fighting to kill each other. So I think a really beautiful way to use our fighting energy is to follow that suit of Mars moving into Sagittarius and letting that energy be where we put our fight. There's some other conjunctions, you want to speak to them with Pluto and Saturn on this 12th. Not just Pluto and Saturn come together. Those are the two biggies, but there's a couple more.
That same time we have Mercury, the Sun, and the what's called an asteroid planet, Ceres, coming together at the same degree. They're all at 22 degrees, 23 degrees of Capricorn at this conjunction on Sunday, January 12th. Mercury is about communication and about assimilation of information. It's about bringing forth that ability to talk about these things, make them real. Capricorn says make it real. And then the Sun has to do with where we put our life force energy, where we direct our heart, where we direct our hands, where we direct our feet. How do we use our time and space here on planet Earth? So the Sun is saying, really get together and start working on this, people. It's not saying do it separately, or as Katrina said, build walls or boundaries, but it says get together and work as a collective. Ceres, she's just as big planetarily wise as Pluto in terms of size, and sits between the Earth and Mars. she has to do with Mother Earth herself and the cycles of the seasons, and she's a fierce protector of the feminine. If you go into the Ceres story of her and the underworld and Persephone, but I really think that the energy of Ceres being contained right there is a big wake-up call that says all of this relates back to our one home, our one planet, our one Earth, our one environment, and we need to take care of it.
All the stars are aligning to say so. There's a lot of focus on the earth energy and on the heart of, or the soul, the heart and soul of why we are even here as human beings in the first place. And you know, that goes back to why we war in the first place too. We fight about what the answer is to that. But all religions, all faiths, all have at the heart of their existence love. And so that is a common thread that runs through all the different religions of the world, is love. And it's just been pushed down and not brought to the forefront of its existence because it's also running through the thread of all these religions is a need to be the best or the most or the most powerful. And if they could drop their need for power and just be their love, then we could coexist with all these different energies on the planet. But that power drive is killing us, quite literally. So again, the theme for this time is serve the soul or suffer sorrow. It's a choice to make. Choose wisely. Namaste.
Namaste.